Greetings, and welcome to a brand new episode of Out the Box Talks. I am your host, Krill. I thank all of our viewers, all of our listeners for rocking with us every week. We are at the end of October, which means we're getting ready to go into November, and then December comes, and before you know it, season 3 will be over. And I'm hoping to get to that 100th episode to close out the season. So again, thank y'all for rocking with me. As always, you know, I got some dope guests on the show, and this particular duo of guests just put out a really quality album. So I'm really excited to chat with them about it. But before we go into that, I do want to mention a few things out the box related. Remember, you can go to our website, outtheboxmedia.com, to get acquainted with all of our previous shows, ranging all the way back to 2009. So it's been like 13 years that I've been on this journey. Shout out to my co-host and my brother A Level, who's been rocking with me as well. So yeah, you can go to that website, hit the show tabs or the podcast tabs, and you can find some of our previous shows. Also, I do have a merch page where you can get access to Out the Box Talks merch and all Out the Box related merch. We even got like some hip hop merch that's up there that, you know, really resonates with, you know, why we do this thing without the box and representing the culture and the art form. So you can go to outtheboxmedia.bigcartel.com to find some of the merch up there and support the platform if you would like. Also, we have a Patreon page where you can get exclusive access to interviews that are not available to the public. You have to be a Patreon subscriber. So it's a very low cost. Let me just say that it's only about $2 a month. And as I said in one of my previous shows, if I could just offer this for a one-time fee, I would, but the subscription model doesn't work like that. So I'm going to say this to you. If you go on there and you just subscribe for a month, now I'm not encouraging you to do this, right? Of course, I want you to stay a subscriber, but I want you to get access to the interviews so much that I would rather you subscribe for a month and be like, yo, if you ain't feeling it, you cancel your subscription. But yeah, so I wanna say that because it's such dope content up there, and I want y'all to hear it. So if you're interested, definitely go to the Patreon page, patreon.com/outtheboxmedia. We have over 30 exclusive interviews up there that no one has heard unless you're a Patreon subscriber of Out the Box Media. So I just wanted to plug that. Also, if you would like to donate, say you don't want to do the subscription, you don't want to get the merch, but you like what we do and you just want to, hey, you know what? I'm gonna hit you off with a one-time donation, right? I appreciate that too. You could send donations to hashtag OutTheBoxRep, or if you're on PayPal, you can send donations to paypal.me/OutTheBoxMedia. Just so you know, these links will be in the description of this YouTube video. And if you're listening via our audio podcast platforms, then you can view the links via the descriptions within the audio podcast as well. All right. So another thing I want to mention too is the podcast is available on Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts. So you can find the high quality audio podcasts on those platforms. And as well, the video, you can find it on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, Out the Box TV. In the meantime, while you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. If you are not subscribed to the platform, please do that. It really helps me to stay connected with you and have you notified once we put up a new episode. And also you can subscribe on our website for free by just hitting the subscription tab so you can be a part of our email blast list. All right, so I just wanted to get that out of the way. Thank you again to all of our viewers and listeners. Thank you for listening through this part, because I know a lot of y'all probably fast forward to it, but if you listen through this part, I really appreciate it. All right, so again, man, like I said, I got a brand new interview with you today, and these two artists have been making music for quite some time. They have a new project out, and it's actually entitled Of Process and Progression. It was released actually this month. I want to say like about a week or two ago. So I got a chance to really tap into the project, and I am loving every bit of it. It has a very thought provoking message. The production is just rich in quality. I mean, it is one of the standout projects of this month, and definitely, I'm pretty sure by the end of the year, people will be talking about this one as well. So I'm excited to build with these brothers today. They have been making music for some years now. I'm gonna just run through some of the things they've been doing. I know prior to this project, the MC, so it's an MC producer duo I'm gonna be talking to today. The MC that's part of this group, he put out a project called In the Wake of O in 2018. He also put out a project called Taking L's in 2017. And then the producer who we'll be talking to as well, he put out a project called Abstractions with another producer by the name of Zoe in April of this year. He also put out a project called Airplane Mode, kind of like an instrumental project as well. And he also put out a project in 2016 called Let's Take a Trip. So we're going to build with these two guys today. One of them is actually hailing from Detroit, Michigan, native of Detroit, Michigan, representing Detroit, Michigan. The other is a Seattle native, but also representing Michigan as he's based there right now. So I want to just say to our Out the Box Talks viewing and listening audience, I thank y'all for rocking with me, and I want to welcome to the show today my two brothers, Tall Black Guy and Ozay Moore, representing for Out the Box. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Yo,
what's up, fellas?
What's up, man?
Man, good, bro.
Nothing much,
good.
man. Thank you for having us on the show, brother.
It's a pleasure, man. It's a pleasure, man. Like I said in the intro, I'm loving this new project, man, of process and progression. I'm loving what the title is representing. So I want to talk to y'all about all of that today involved with the project. But before we go into that, I do want to ask y'all, like, I know that you guys collectively have been making music or involved in music for the last 30 years or more than 30 years. And I wanted to just ask y'all, like, what has kept each of you invested in creating music throughout all of these years since your inception as artists? That's a heavy one, right?
It's an outlet. It's an outlet. It's an outlet for you to, at least that's how I particularly use it like that in a good, good way. You know what I mean? Like you got a lot of things built up and, it's a good way to kind of release, you know what I mean? And, it's became to the point now, like I've done this for so long, I just can't see myself doing anything else. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even know what another job would look like for me, so yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So no plan B. This is the plan A, and that's where you're going.
Yeah, man.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, I quit my job about 6 years ago, man. I was like, you know what?
Wow.
We're gonna do this. Yeah, we're gonna do this. You know, I mean, obviously you gotta do it in where it makes sense to your family. Like you can't be doing no music, you ain't making no money, and sacrificing all this stuff for your fam. But if it's a will, it's a way. You just got to hustle a little bit. You know what I mean? And make connections. Like with yourself and and other folks and whatnot.
I like that, and that's a beautiful thing to get to that point where you can devote your career to this. Go ahead, Ozay.
Yeah, my story is a little bit flip, right? So I started like putting out music at 18. You know what I mean? And on the road touring, and started having a family and realized that just this the grind, the music grind as an independent hip hop artist. Although when it was good, it was good. When it was bad. You know what I'm saying? And I remember when the model shifted and people were giving away music for free, and stuff started, these virtual platforms started kind of taking over. And I remember that just being like, yo, it was already like this, you know what I'm saying? Because being an MC or an artist, that is first and foremost committed to the content, you know what I'm saying, and committed to who I am as an artist, who I am as a musician and a person. You know, there's a lot of different pathways you can go to make it lucrative, to make it this, that, and the third. I'm one of those folks. If the door's open, I step through, but I'm gonna step through as me, period. You know what I mean? And if that works, cool. If it don't, yeah, I just step out back on out. You know what I'm saying? Or make a little room in there and just keep doing my thing. But you know, it came to a point where it was like I had to make a decision. You know, do I want to keep on doing this or do I want to like sustain? And it was crazy because at that time too, music was starting to feel like a real job to me. You know, I was like, this is my. I remember MySpace days, like checking my inbox for collabs. You know what I'm saying? And nickel and diamond collabs. And I was like, I'm seeing some of my favorite artists do the same thing. I'm like, bro, this vet don't need to be nickel and diamond verses like that. Not for what they've contributed to the culture, you know. So at that point, I just like, you know what? Switch. You know, I changed my name from Othello to Ozay Moore. And yeah, man. So I'm actually enjoying making music, you know, with no man, with no pressure. You know what I'm saying? Like put it out, make sure it's quality, take my time with it, and, you know, collaborate with brothers like Black and putting out quality product. It's like it's just it feels really good to me to know that like, yo, the food's on the table. This is good, but I also have this outlet that is really cathartic for me and hopefully valuable to the listener. You know what I mean? So
Wow,
yeah.
man. Well said, man. And I'm very happy that both of y'all are in that space, right? That
Mm,
music could be like a positive contributor to your life. You know what I mean?
yeah.
That's the beautiful thing. So, can you guys, for the people that might not know about your history, which I
Yeah.
have to admit, I'm honestly not familiar with you guys' long history in the music business. So I want to know this too. But for those that may not know, can you give an example of your three most impactful moments in music leading up to this year? And each of you can give three, and
Okay.
whoever wants to go first.
You want to go first, O,
Now you
or
you got that. You got that, T. Get
all
that.
right. The three most impactful. I'll probably say I remember because I lived in Chicago for a good period of time. Parents situation, whatever, whatnot. But I did Red Bull Big Tune. They had started up these like national beat battles in like around like 2007. And prior to that, I had this stuff around the city of Chicago, like just going through mugs, slashing mugs a little bit. And then I ended up doing it on a national level. And I ended up winning the whole Chicago heat for that particular battle. And then they end up sending us to Seattle. And I think the people that was in there was like S1. He did a lot of stuff with like Kanye and Swifty. Babu was in there. I know I'm missing some people, and that was kind of like, okay, that was one moment right there.
Yeah.
Another time that I had another beat battle, and this is right when Kanye was kind of just coming up, and I ended up winning the thing. I won the battle, but his manager at the time, I think his name was John Monopoly. He was like, "Yo, man, you're ill." Blah 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 blah. Trying to hook up. It kind of fell through, but that was like another moment. Like, man, I think I'm doing something right here, right? And then I'll probably say the last would probably be and Ozay knows about this one. Like all our homies have participated in this particular event, but Jazzy Jeff ended up putting up these playlist retreats. And I remember when he ended up hitting me up on Twitter, he was like, "Yo, man, I dig your music. Um, I would love for you to come down to this little retreat idea I got, where he wanted to bring together the producers and the DJs to his private location." And yeah, I mean, I met some of everything like Spinner, DJ Scratch, Premier, P Rock, all the legends, what I mean? And, that was a really gratifying thing, what I mean? Because, you've done it for so long, And when you start getting those type of peers kind of reaching out to you of cats that you looked up to, that was really dope. But yeah, those are probably my three moments right there. I would say another one that I think was real pinnacle too. Probably when I went to Australia, New Zealand for the first time, and
Mm,
that was like insane because I'm like, man, this was a hobby for me. You know what I mean? Like I
mm,
started
mm-hmm.
it at 17 years old, and then you fast forward all these years later, and I'm getting booked for my own my tour to tour around Australia, Australia, New Zealand, whatnot. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's been a journey, man. But those are probably my biggest moments.
That's dope, man.
So,
That's impactful moments too, man. Being in those circles and meeting some of those prestigious producers,
mm,
pioneers.
yeah,
Yeah, man. Yeah,
yeah,
it was great. It was great, man.
yeah. I'd say for me, I was in a crew beforehand, lightheaded, right? And I remember we signed to Trez and shout outs to people in the stairs, rest in peace. You know, man, Double K. But those are the homies, Giant Panda, our LA folks. Um, and so being in a part of a crew and kind of moving as a unit was always dope. We were doing international tours together, but as a trio and a DJ. And so by the time I went solo, this is kind of intimidating, what I'm saying? I'm just known as one third of lightheaded, and here I am got to hold down shows and, tour schedules on my own. So one of the first most impactful piece was my first time to Japan, which was kind of a fluke, right? Like I was doing some stuff on the side with a live jazz hip hop band. The tour manager for the percussions at the time, peace to all the fam. My man Mike Merriman, um, he heard it and he had lived in Japan a little bit. Was like, no, I think people are gonna feel this, right? Because they Lightheaded was doing a show with the pros. They were in Portland, Oregon. He heard the demo, sent it to Japan. Japan was rocking with it. Next thing you know, signed a deal with a Japanese label called Mike Life, and they're putting out like Edon and Insight, and what I'm saying, it's a piece to Boston MCs and but they were just showing a lot of love to folks I grew up listening to, and I didn't realize that they had a platform in Japan overseas rocking. So next thing you know, I get the call, yo, you want to come out here? And I'm like, yeah. So we did this Blue Note jazz tour, and we're hitting all the spots. We hit Osaka, Nagoya, Fukuoka, Tokyo, boom, boom, boom. With the band and the percussions, and that's when me and Stro Elliott became really close, right? Um, that was number one. Number two, was I would have to say, uh, did a tour. Did a tour with some pioneers, with like it was Prince Poe, uh J Live was on that, Opio from Hyro was on that, my man One Below was on that. And it was like a battle tour. So we was in a few different cities. We was in Miami, Detroit, New York. That's when I got a chance to rock with J Live and some of the folks I just really, the New York scene was like to be from the West and to get love in New York. It was like that was everything. You know what I'm saying? That was like, yeah, you can't tell me nothing. Like, hey, if I get the cosign or the love from the Mecca, then I'm doing something all right. But I think that was another, impactful time, that tour. Uh, and then, yeah, this project is big. You know what I'm saying? It's a special time for me to be putting out music where, like I said, the pressure isn't there. But I would even say, like, even more than that, to bring it full circle. When I saw Stro Elliott, and this ain't even about me, right? This is when Stro Elliott went from being a producer and the percussions and a close friend of mine and never being a dude to like advocate for himself. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't out here saying, I'm the dopest, I'm the dopest, check out my beats. He had other people co-signing for him. And then he wasn't asking them to. He just did, he focused on his craft. He made sure that was tight. He made sure he was ready when the opportunities came. Next thing you know, Jazzy Jeff's talking to Questlove's reaching out like, yo, we want somebody in the roots. So to see my homeboy go from being who I figure was one of the dopest in the world, you know what I'm saying? But in this circle, Tall Black, 14 KT, you know, my man Danny Steele and Stro Elliott, my top four right there. You know, to see him get put on in that way, that was another highlight for me. And that wasn't even my highlight. That was just like seeing somebody who deserved that, you know what I'm saying, who put the work in, who sacrificed, put the time in, and get it right. You know what I'm saying? He didn't push his way to the front of the line. He wasn't dissing folks on his climb up. He literally just did his thing. Somebody saw it and put him on. And every time he celebrates, man, I'm just like, I feel like I'm winning. When you win, I'm winning. You know, so I think that's my third highlight right there.
You muted, brother.
So you muted, brother.
I forgot that I was muted.
All right. I was talking long. My bad, man. You know what I'm saying? You get to reliving this stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Thanks for letting me know that, Black. So yeah, I let me just say that was beautiful, man. Like your three music moments, man, that you guys shared, definitely dope. So I wanted to ask you, Ozay, what made you change your name from Lightheaded to just going with the Ozay more?
So Lightheaded was the crew. My name was Othello in that time, you know. And it was a number of things, you know. I think at the tail end, before I had to put Othello to in the dirt, you know what I mean? I was that guy, man. I was putting out music I wasn't really excited about. I was doing collaborations that weren't, I was like, man, why am I doing this to I'm over here like really trying to make this happen. And people are reaching out to me for 16s and, you know, verses and whatnot. I'm nickeling 150 here, 200 here, 500 here, you know, just hustling the raps. And I'm like, it got to
pimping your raps a little bit.
Pimping the raps, bro. And it was feeling like a job I didn't want. It was like having something you loved and you loved it so much you just began to hate it. You know what I'm saying? I hate this. I'm not trying to treat it like that, man. It's deeper to me than that. You know what I'm saying? And I had always respected artists that I had heard for the first time on their first album, and they've been rapping for 25 years. And or 15, whatever. They've been doing anything for a long time. And it's like, this is my first album. The first thing they put out is instant classic. I was like, that's more impactful to me than having a long ass catalog of music that you don't even rock with no more, that you don't even want to talk about. You know what I mean? And so for me at that time, it was, you know, about 2010. I really considered, because I had a lot of people supporting me up through that, and I was like, man, could this hurt me? But I realized that I wasn't even taking control of my branding. People branded me without me even knowing. You know what I'm saying? They were saying, oh, because you weren't intentional about your branding, you just must be the jazzy hip hop backpack rapper dude. You know what I'm saying? That's you. You know what I'm saying? I was like, but that's not all it is. You know what I mean? And on top of that, fighting algorithms and search engines when it comes to, you know, when you Google Othello, who you get? Shakespeare. Right. You Google Othello hip hop, what do you get? Some terrible rendition of Shakespeare's Othello play in rhyme form. You know what I mean? So it was just an opportunity. I was like, look, changing my name. It's me. What's a name that can grow with me? If I decide to play the clarinet one day, or I decide to play the recorder, right, you know what I'm saying, professionally, well, who could that person be? Ozay. Google it. Is there an Ozay out there? Nope. That's me. So when you Google Ozay Moore, the first one. The Moore is a continuation of Othello. Othello was the Moore of Venice, right? I just added an E. So we kept the Moore. So it's Ozay Moore, just a nod to of me. But
that's
no time, you know what I mean?
That's dope. I didn't know that.
I got secrets, T. I got secrets.
Dope, man. And my apologies. I didn't realize I got the name mixed up. You did say it was Othello.
No doubt, man. No, we getting to know each other, man. I'm a fan. Right. I'm a fan of the show, but this is the first time we meet, man. So it's no all doubt. Love. I appreciate it.
So let's talk about this new album entitled Of Process and Progression. Tell us how this actual title came to be and the deeper meaning behind it.
Okay. So we'll go to around 2000, what, 15, 16, bro?
Mm-hmm.
Is around when you kind of had this concept, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, yeah. So I had been living in England at that time. I moved around quite a bit, bro. As you starting to hear now a little bit. Yeah, we had already kind of cut some songs, you know. I think he was just working on In the Wake of O, and then he had recorded some stuff for me for the Let's Take a Trip, Things Deeper Than My Skin, and then we did another record prior on my first official release. And I remember when he called me one day, he was like, "Man, I got this ill concept, you know, kind of talking about, you know, kind of the beginnings of what your, you know, whatever your discipline is, um, the process that goes behind it, and the progression that you got, the path and the journey that you got to take to get where you're trying to go, and he said the word of process and progression. And we was like, man, it sounds kind of crazy. Like it don't make
Fucking
sense, but
book.
it does. It just sounded weird. But then I was like, man, that sounds kind of ill. This is in 2016. We actually did not start on this idea and start actually recording until 2019.
Mm.
So it was about 3 years later. And then it was just on and popping from there. I kind of let Ozay kind of probably explain it a little bit more though.
Yeah, we yeah, everything we create comes out of just our relationship, our conversations. Because outside of this album, we're actually real friends. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
homies who check in on each other. He has his first child. We're rapping about that. We're going through the pandemic together. We rapping about that. The world's on fire. We rapping about that. We really build, like, for real, for real. And so all the content for the album stemmed from conversations. You know what I mean? Um, and I've said this a few times now, but the way that Tall Black Guy produces, whatever frequency he's on, it resonates with me at a core level. You know what I'm saying? Like any beat he plays, I'm ready to rhyme. You know what I'm saying? Like I got patterns and ideas and flows and all sorts of stuff ready just because it just draws that. And it being almost 40, you know what I'm saying? I used to be like, any beat, give it to me, I'm ready. You know what I'm saying? I don't gotta like that. I don't feel that way no more. Not every beat moves me to rap. You know what I'm saying? Like it
Mm.
gotta have a certain energy or certain something to it to pull something else to say out of me. You know what I'm saying? Like you say a lot over these last 20 years of rapping. You know what I'm saying? And I don't rhyme for the sake of riddling. I've never been one. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, it was like these conversations and his production, and it was just like the perfect mix of ingredients, from our conversations to the music to the frequency to my flow and my voice and it just seemed like it was melded together really well, organically, and coming from an honest and real place. It wasn't forced. you know if things weren't moving the way, we just back up a little bit and live a little bit. You know what I'm saying? But shoot, 2019 happened. 2020
Mm.
happened. Yeah,
Mm.
we had all kind of content, man. We was just stuff was coming, and so yeah, that's really what we wanted to talk about. What goes into moving the needle of anything. Socially, emotionally, spiritually, physically, culturally. You have these things that you just can't throw away. Because you have an app for it now. You know what I'm saying? Or you can say, I'm not using that tool anymore, but what you learned using that tool, the experiences that you had to the things you had to go through to get, the loop, the sample, what I'm saying, for it to sound right when you don't have all the modern technology, whatever it is. Those are lessons. You learn those lessons. Those are cultural moments. Those are moments that mean something to those who are practitioners at this. And so instead of like preaching, yo, you ain't doing it right unless you making it on an SP, or you ain't doing it right unless you want MP, it was more or less, let's commemorate and show honor to the processes that went into moving the needle, and making any sort of progress for us. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? So in a
Very well,
nutshell,
Yeah.
yeah.
very well said. this next question might be a little nitpicky, but I was curious to know, like, why'd y'all choose to go with of process and progression and not something like the process of progression?
Mm.
Well, you
Man,
came up with it. You came up with the
yeah,
name, bro. So
I don't know, man. I'm always thinking like, I'm trying to that whole branding thing really it got me. When somebody told me like, look, ain't nobody, hey, when they Googling and they finding Shakespeare, that's your bad. You know what I'm saying? You should have thought
right,
about that sooner, you know what I'm saying?
right,
But so when I think about names and concepts and ideas, I'm thinking about that, like how somebody, this particular string of words, you could always say something pretty straightforward. And if
Yeah,
we're gonna be in this conversation for a minute, you're gonna find that like, I do take the scenic route to the point. You feel
I-
me? It's just that's how I get down. But when we were talking about, the name for the album, it felt regal, it felt like it would be a novel. It felt like it
yeah,
would be something other than just a hip hop record. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
yeah, we took a different route with it. It stuck. It felt like it came off the tongue all right. And yeah, yeah, that's how it came together.
It felt right. It felt right. I remember when he said it, and I remember just thinking like, man, I don't know what it is about that dude, but that just sounds cool. It just sounds cool to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then we actually had formulated the concept like
Yeah,
later. You know what I
yeah.
mean? But it just sounded like that's something like I would probably name a track something like that. You know what I'm saying?
You know what I'm saying? Like of mice and men. You know what I'm saying? Like you're like
Yeah.
of mice and men. You know what
God,
I'm saying? It just pulls you in like, whoa, what you mean of why? Why
Right.
why we starting that way? You know what I mean?
yes,
So
it's like it poses a question, like you
mhm,
brings you further into
yeah,
want to uncover it. So
right.
nah, I just wanted to ask that. I didn't want to be too nitpicky, but it just
Nah,
came,
I appreciate
it
it.
just rolled off of my mind. So I said, let me ask that. But I like it as it is, just to say. So
Right.
the album is very well produced, and the production on it sounds really rich. Black, how were you able to craft the music on this project? What types of sounds were you going for?
Um, I mean the formula for when we've made music has always really been the same. You know, I try to give him space because he's very intricate and he's very detailed at what he says. You know what I mean? But it's frequency that I think that me and him both tap into where, we want the warmth, you know, you want our funk a certain type of way, you know what I mean? And this time we had to do it for a whole complete project, you know what I mean? And it was crazy because we were having this conversation earlier, you know, the way how we came up, in like the 90s, and late 80s, early 90s, it was a certain type of way those albums were made. They were telling the story, you know, and so us kind of giving a nod to how they were doing records back then. I mean, from the interludes to the little gems, with the knowledge and wisdom from the little skits and whatnot. The only thing that we didn't actually do, we talked about today, we didn't do an actual acting skit. That would have been the last thing that we would have basically, that whole formula that they were using on a lot of those albums, that would have put that over the top, with that. But yeah, I just try to keep it, give him a lot of space. And I always try to, once he gives me the lyrics, then that's my job to now start putting the color in the, as I say, the Lowrys, the seasoning behind,
Right.
and really trying to, just put focus on the words because the material and what he's talking about, the content is so rich. I don't want to just put anything to that. You know what I mean? Like it's a very, you know, very specific way that I try to approach anything that he pretty much does, or just in production in general. I wouldn't limit it to just him, but it's just always, having that perfect marriage of the music has to match the aesthetic of the song, you know, and whether he's saying a rhyme and I want to take out the music, so you can hear that punchline or whatever like that. Like I go through, and he see my process. Like I go through the whole track and like meticulously try to match everything that he's saying in the production. So that was pretty much the idea that we wanted. And two, we wanted no skips. that's what we was trying to go for. Like you just let this play. You know what I'm saying? Like you just let it go, and then before you know it, you don't want to rewind it back again. Hopefully, you know what I mean. So yeah,
Now, I think y'all definitely achieved that. The album kind of it's 10 tracks, but they weave through so seamlessly that you kind of forget. It's almost like the tracks are joined together, and you just hit the
yeah.
beats that you like, oh, I like that moment. And then you
Mm.
could play it back over. So I think you definitely achieved that. So the other thing I noticed about the album is the production, like I said, sounds so rich that it feels like there's live instrumentation. Is there any like live instrumentation that's contributed on this project?
Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure. I mean, we had Chris Johnson. He played what? He played what? Is it flugelhorn on the mud, or was it straight trumpet? I'm not sure, man.
Okay.
He
Bomb
played
ass
that.
horns.
He played. Yeah, there you go. That you would just say that. He played that. Another brother of mine. This cat, Paul Theodore Chandler. He played horns and strings on Running.
Mm,
I played a lot of the instruments as well. John Dixon on organ, I think for the mud as well. Um, yeah, but I really, because that's kind of the direction I'm going to anyway. Because I mean, eventually I do want to make a jazz album. Like complete. Like almost like on some jazz standards type situation. You know what I mean? So I was already kind of going that direction anyway. So just kind of trying to keep the aesthetic of that. And then too, like I'm an admirer of the 70s, of all the music that was ever made in that time period, man. I think it's the greatest music ever, period. I don't care what anybody says. Just the warmth and the richness, everything, the fusion that was going on back then, you know what I mean? Like, so that was what, that was the goal, was try to incorporate that into this project. And then just going forward in general, making sure that, kind of playing some instruments a little bit, because it's cool and dope to sample, but it's also cool to learn what they're playing and figure out a way to replay it or do it in your own way. You know what I mean? Or take the sample and and get inspired to do your own original idea. You know what I mean? And you can use both. I do both. I do sampling and playing. I kind of merge them together.
definitely, definitely. Uh, can y'all tell me like how much of this project was done where Ozay you were actually in person with Black and like did were those elements in place where you guys can physically be together while recording and get like um how you say get advice or get directions in person?
Right. The beginning, like the first couple tracks of the album, not in its order, but that we worked on, we had the privilege of doing it together here in Lansing. So, Black came out for I'm part of a nonprofit organization. We mentor youth through hip hop culture, right? But we partnered with another organization. We did a mural festival, brought Black out for the block party. And he stayed a couple extra days, and in those days, we're like, "Yo, this is the first time we're actually getting a chance to rock together." We've been file sharing for almost a decade now. You know what I mean? So let's lean into it. So, first thing we did was, comb through some records, find some inspiration. I had a folder of ideas and samples I was already digging on. So did he. He actually came with some beats already. I had some rhymes already written, just to kind of get the process moving. Just start there and then build. So we messed around here. What we cut like 4 tracks while he was in town, over the course of 2 days, But yeah, we got a chance to really vibe out in the studio, and I'm no drummer by any means, but because he knows his way around the keys and I can keep a beat, we'd be in session, and if we ran into a wall, we just went into the live room and vibed out for a good 30 minutes and cleansed the palette and came back to the booth or came back to the boards and got to working on the track again. But that was kind of our rhythm. It was like for those 2 days, man, we was probably playing live instruments and vibing out in the space, as whenever we felt like it. And it was just like didn't miss a beat. And I was like, man, let's get up and hop on these drums one time. He hopped on the roads and we just kind of vibe for a minute and then get back with some new perspective and really bang out these tracks. So I think the only other time we really worked and crafted a track together was via Zoom. So Black is we did that all on Zoom. Like literally he plugged
Really?
into yeah. So
A dope
the
track.
song was, yeah, it's crazy. So the song was originally Daniel Steele, me, and Serene Poems track. Um and you know, as we're working on the project, Black hears the track and it's like, oh man, we got to put that on the album. This is like the summer of 2022. It's like, yo, we need that energy on this album. We need that energy on this album. I just let me take it and flip it. So we like bet. Daniel still gave the blessings. Like, yo, man, please, let's do it. We hop in a Zoom and literally he reverse engineered. He had my vocals in a click. You know what I'm saying? So as my vocals are rocking to the click, he's searching through breaks, he's searching through drums. And as he was building the drums around my vocal, it was like he was capturing, you know, like ghost notes in my patterns. And just, I mean, he was really just orchestrating the drums and the vibe of the music. Next thing you know, the feel that the song felt, it felt I guess
Heroic.
celebratory. You know what I'm saying? It
Yeah.
felt big. It went from being kind of somber in its original state to like this celebratory track, and it was not intentional. It's just kind of how everything was landing. And then we heard that Black is you, Black is me, Black is us, Black is free, Black. Last Poets joint. It's like, yo, it was magic. I remember at the end of that session, I was like, we did that virtually, but that was probably one of my favorite sessions I've ever been in, because it was like, the thing was just landing in place. It was just coming together, and you know, the synergy was there, even though we were 100 miles away from each other and 200 miles away from each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. It was crazy too, because that the Last Poets, I had been holding on to that record in that particular section maybe about 7 months. I'm like, man, I want to use this for something, you know what I mean? And then I ended up finding a little piano sample, you know. I ain't gonna say what it is, but somebody will find it. And I found that maybe about a couple of months prior. So I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna keep on to these ideas. And then so happened that Ozay and Serene and Daniel was working on a song called Black Is. And I'm like, yeah, let me see if this works. And I mean, literally, dude, like he said, man, it just the heavens opened up that day, you know.
Yeah, man.
They opened up that day, and we did a little bit on vibe, right, too. You know, when we was adding like the little synth part, and what I remember he was saying, like, man, I heard this little jazz line. I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna try it. Is this it? And he's like, yeah, that's it. You know what I mean? So we had to be kind of resourceful or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that's what's up, man. I want to say that the album is amazing altogether, but I feel like the last 3 tracks kind of just go off into another range of quality, like of amazingness. Like this album ends on such a strong note that it's one of those projects that I feel like people may miss if they don't take the time to listen completely through it. Like they'll miss the greatness of it. And yeah, I just wanted to mention that because that's something that I noticed with repeated listens to this project. I wanted to ask you, Black, like what would you say was like I guess to go more into the sounds, like what type of instrumental sounds was speaking to you for this particular project?
Probably piano. Piano kind of spec. I mean, because I always start at the piano, you know what I mean? And I.e. running, you know, that emotion of that would not have been done with any other instrument. You know what I mean? Like those chord choices from the piano, you know, I mean, again, it just did something to me. And I remember hearing it as a demo. You know, it was a young lady. Her name was Malaya. And we'll actually, I'll go back to that because I know you want to go into the. We'll go back to that. But yeah, Yeah, I probably say the piano. I mean, really, man, it was just, piano. I mean, your basic joints, your pianos, Rhodes, strings,
Nice. Dope, dope, dope. So the album opens with, and I'm getting ready to get into some of the actual songs on the album. It
Mhm.
opens with a
Yeah.
prelude, which details this poetic idea of an individual's journey and overcoming challenges and creating legacy. How does this
Mhm.
prelude relate to the album title?
Mhm. That's it's summing up the process and the progression. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying? It's summing up the journey, and not necessarily the destination, but like forward motion. You know what I'm saying? And I think um that's I open up probably every album, at least the last couple. I open up with some kind of reflection like that. You know what I'm saying? Because I think it's an appropriate way to catch folks up to speed. Like, whether it's me or it's some figurative type, you know, person in my mind that I'm kind of like drawing some parallel experiences to or from. Um, this particular piece, I remember Black was like, no, I think we just need like some, not even rhyming, just speaking. You know what I'm saying? Um,
Mhm. Mhm.
and it kind of like started it. So we heard stick 'em first, and we like, yo, stick 'em, that's the first, that got to be the first track, right?
mm,
But the way the chords going there reminded me of the joint that we use at the top of the album. You know what I'm
mm,
saying? So I heard it, was like, yo, let's kick it off with that. And it just so happened to be in the right key and all that. And we would play like to your point, Krill, if you listen to the whole album, there's Easter eggs throughout the whole joint. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like we tuck them in there, and those heads who know will know. You know what I'm saying? I think that's kind of beauty of it kind of unfolds as you listen to it more times. Even so much so that the last song is in the same key as the first
Key
song.
is the first
So if
one.
that mug if that
Yeah.
mug repeats, it almost sounds like it just like, yeah, I did that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But yeah, we wanted to really just start with that idea of, man, you are developing through the process, and as you develop, as you take the L's with the W's, you know what I'm saying, you are growing, you are becoming stronger, you are developing, you are becoming more resilient, you are getting the tools you need to build whatever it is you got to build. You know what I'm saying? Wherever your life path is going. So that was in a nutshell. We want how we wanted to start the whole joint off. And yeah, it felt good. It was weird not to rap and kind of step into that like spoken
Yeah.
word space, but it felt right. It
Yeah.
felt natural. You know what I mean? Yeah.
it
Mhm.
worked. So as you referenced the track Stickum, Jose, you have a line on there where you say you ain't never stepped foot in a college class until you was asked to come teach in a college class. What did that moment reveal to you about your career journey?
Yeah. Man, there's so much. That's a loaded statement for me. I think the fact that, when I transitioned from music as my primary vocation and I had to look at my tools, you know what I'm saying, to that point of your tools, I realized, man, I was having doors. I like I said, I bypassed college. I went straight from high school to touring and rapping. So 10 years later, 12 years later, all I know is hip hop. All I know is rhyming. All I know is performance and shows and the culture. That's all. Simultaneous, simultaneously, hip hop ed became this thing. You know what I'm saying? Peace to Christopher Emden, New York, NYU has the kind of leading the charge in hip hop ed. But I went from feeling underqualified to create a career or space for me in my particular area of knowledge
Mm,
to being hella qualified to speak on stuff they was trying to talk about but had no idea, didn't know anything about. You know what I'm saying? So now they
Mm.
bringing me into
Mm.
these college classes to speak on the culture, to speak on hip hop, to speak on the intersections of youth, community, artistic, economic development through the lens of the culture. And it was like, it was crazy. It was hella validating to answer your question, Krill. Like, I felt validated, bro. Like, I felt being able to share that with the audience was a layer that I ain't really talked about, man. I felt like I messed up for not going to college in a lot of ways, and my kids are gonna go to college, facts. But you know what I'm saying? Like, for me personally, my journey, this is not what it was.
Yeah.
But I've been a student of life my whole life. So every opportunity to travel, every opportunity to be with people, to communicate, build, talk, chop it up, and that's me studying. I'm studying. You know what I'm saying? Constantly. Yeah. So anyway, man, yeah, that line was deep for
Yeah,
me.
it hit. It was a powerful line. And as you're telling the story, it just makes me think about how amazing it is that you could be told one thing, all your life, like go to school, go to college, and then you arrive at a certain place and you like, wow, I didn't necessarily need to do that. I'm not knocking college, you know what I'm saying?
No.
But like it's funny how we have these individual life journeys, and when we stay on our path that resonates with us, it can sometimes work out. So yeah, that was dope that you shared that on the song. So the initial single off the album, the track entitled Vibrite, definitely has a sound that speaks to its name. Black, can you recall what vibe you were actually in when you were creating that beat, Vibrite?
Um, uh, I really don't even recall, man. I mean, I remember because that sample's been used before. So again, like I was saying earlier, combining the playing with the sampling, yeah, I mean, the sample was kind of cool. I'm like, man, what if I try to, put a little live bass on it or whatever. And then I added organ and strings, I think guitar or something else. It was a few different other layers to kind of just, beef it up a little bit. Um, and it just sat on my computer for a minute. You know what I mean? I knew it was cool, but I mean, it was just like another beat.
Right.
I had a conversation again with Ozay, in this past interview, like I tend to do better if I already have a canvas there, like meaning like words, because then I can build around the words, or as opposed to me just creating beats. You know what I'm saying? Like that, I'll just be making beats to be making beats at that point. You know what I mean? Like I'm in search for the song all the time now. That's all I look for. So in this case, I had the beat, and then when I came and visited in 2019, I played it to him, and he was like, "Yeah, just sit that on me real quick for a minute." You know what I mean? And then next thing you know, Vibrite came out. It was dope.
How much actually changes when you think about all the times that you've created a beat, you've given it to Ozay, or you've given it to an MC or artist, and then you have to come back and change it? What usually are the elements that you adjust?
Depending on the MC, I've never had this problem with Ozay, because he's pretty in the pocket probably 98.99% of the time. So it's never a thing of him being in the pocket. But if it is, just say I get it to an MC and they're kind of off, it's an adjustments that you have to do to get them to where they sound like because you basically want the artist to sound like an instrument, right? And so you got to scoot and nudge to make sure that they sound in their correct place. But then a lot of times too, I might start off the beat and the artist might rap over the beat in a particular way. And then I'll listen to it. I'm like, I don't like these drums. And I will go and reprogram the whole pattern of the drums until they sound to my liking. You know what I mean? And that's been just being very tedious, but that's just the way because I want again, if the message is, the message is there, I want to make sure that the marriage of the music and the words are all together, you know. And so if I got to do that little extra work to make sure that that point's going to come across, I would do that. You know what I mean? So in the case of Ozay, I mean, from pretty much the first time that we recorded, it's just always been it always falls in place the way it's. I never really have to change anything. I might do like little, you know, nuggets as far as like it adding layers or whatnot, but I mean, pretty much from the first record into this whole into the, you know, this album and all the other stuff we recorded, I mean, it's always came out really dope. You know,
wow, that's dope.
He makes it easy. He makes it easy.
What, Ozay, what do you attribute to that experience of, and like what he's talking about, you making it easy? Is it your friendship? You know, is it you just understanding the way he makes music? Like, what makes that chemistry work out where you guys kind of flow with each other?
Man, I don't want the answer to sound, too too metaphysical,
For it.
but I do
Metaphysical.
feel that, what I'm saying? Like, I do feel like there's just a frequency, man. Like I say the same thing about him. Like, he makes it easy for me. Like, there ain't a lot of beats that make me really, really want to rap, and everything you do. I make sure your beats make me want to sing, you know what I'm saying? Beats make me want to do something, you know what I'm saying? And that's I go off of that. Like, that's where I find that's my muse right there. As an MC, if I feel like my role is to move the crowd, you know what I'm saying? If I'm going to move you, whether it be physically or mentally or emotionally, like I want to move something. I want something to move, and it starts with that vibration. You know what I'm saying? So when I hear what he's doing and it's moving, it's resonating with me, and I feel that, I'm like, all right, cool. So I just get to work, and the word and his music just kind of tells me what to do, tells me what to say. You know what I'm saying? And again, not to sound too out there, but I mean, like, that's become my process, because what I don't want to do is be forcing raps. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not with that no more. Like, I'm not just trying to force these raps out. You say a lot of things, and I mean, you practice your pen game, of course. You got to do that. Keep your sword sharp. Just rhyming and coming up with punchlines and patterns and that sort of thing. But when it comes to making songs, I think that's something that we both share. It's like, we can make a rap record, or we can make a song. And just because you make a song doesn't mean you have to follow a pop formula. The greats was making songs. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody that we listen to, Quincy Jones, song making. Donny Hathaway, song making. Aretha Franklin, song. They making songs. Now, granted, those were considered pop records at the time, but it's only pop because they were popular for doing what they did. On our side, it's like we approach it like we want to make songs, not just rap records. You know what I mean? But at the same time, we don't want to sacrifice the craft either. Like, if I'm gonna rhyme, I'm gonna rhyme. If I'm gonna rap, I'm gonna rap. Now, I'm not just gonna mumble, fumble, the pattern. You gonna hear what I'm saying, because that's not the type of MC I am. I appreciate that and respect that, but at the end of the day, I want my words to cut through. I want you to hear. I want you to feel. I want you to be moved. You know what I'm saying? In some way, shape, or form by the power of the word. And I think because he creates space in his production, although lush and full and just this beautiful bed of music, he still, as a master craftsman, knows how to pull things back so that my words can do what they need to do. And a lot of the times, what he's thinking and feeling, my words end up conveying, but it's only because he put that emotion in the music. You know what I'm saying? So there's other communications happening, at least that's what it feels like when I work with my man,
Yeah. And I think we get to experience that in the outcome of the music as well as a listener. Going back to the song Vibe Right, like, how did y'all actually come up with the song name Vibe Right? And why did y'all choose to highlight that song as the vibe label track over all the other tracks, which to me speaks vibes as well?
Man.
I don't know if you
Nah. You know, we actually the truth is we slow leaked the mess out of this album. Our first single was Hard Hands, and that was a year ago.
Yeah.
And
I didn't know
we,
that going back. Yeah.
you know, so Hard Hands, then we did Black Is, then we did Mud, and then
Mud.
Vibe Right. And I think
Yeah.
we were forcing people to sit with these records, man. That was it. Like we want you, like we know it's hard to keep people's attention. We know it's hard for folks to like really sit down. But we from putting it out on vinyl to slow leaking the album, we're like, look, these streams don't equate to no money anyway. So why not
Right.
make them listen to it over and over again? Let's get them on these playlists. Let's get them circulating and familiar with what we're doing here. So Vibrate actually is kind of a play on vibrate. You know what I mean? So vibrate, but vibrate, get the vibe right. But
Nice.
it's also connected to the vibration. You know what I mean? To vibrate. You know, so yeah.
I like that. I like that. Yeah, I
That's
want
a
to
nice
talk
one. I
about
like that one right there.
indeed. So in the beginning of the track, you have with Omega Watts, the person mentions a guy named Hans Barretto, the guy speaking,
Yeah.
who I assume the track is named after. For those that may not know who exactly Hans Barretto is, can you tell us who he is and what his connection is at all to hip hop?
Yeah, so Hard Hands Barretto, Ray
Ray
Barretto,
Barretto.
yeah, the percussionist, um, New York, Puerto Rican, it's just legendary percussionist, right? There's a scene in Star Wars, right? Where they're talking about those like Hard Hands Barretto, yeah man, he from the ghetto too, man. Before this hip hop shit, he was banging on garbage cans, and
Mhm.
and it just felt so perfect to what we were trying to communicate in this music. Like there's a beginning and there's an evolution, and all these pieces are important. We're figuring stuff out as we figure it out, as we touch the needle to the thing and get a different sound, as we play with the tone arm, as we bang on the gut, as we sample whatever we could sample with a mic and an input, we're literally figuring out the music and the genre and our culture through these just lived experiences, you know what I mean? And so I felt like it was so fitting for us to, at the beginning of the album, take it back one time with the classic back and forth. Me and Omega been doing that for years. You know what I'm saying? Lightheaded. That's all we did. We just trade verses. Very much,
Run
you
DMC.
know, yeah, audio two type. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Back and forth, playful rhymes, stuff like that. So we want to take it back before we go forward. So we paid homage to the foundation, and we thought that vocal sample was just perfect in laying the beginning. And he even follow with that with foundation, boom, and it goes right into the track. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
yeah.
I think it was dope that you included Omega Watts on that and that chemistry that you all have going back and forth. It speaks to, I guess, your history working with him. For those that may not know who Omega Watts is, can you talk about why, you think he is a special MC and reasons for people to check for him?
Yeah, man. He one of them dudes is so talented it makes you mad. You know what I mean? Like we used to mess with him because he had lines back and he's like Omega Watts, chop, dig, and design. And he really do. He really do chop, dig, and design, man. But he also DJs. And he's also like everybody's best man at their wedding, bro. This dude's just like, you know what I'm saying? He's been the best man at more weddings than I've attended. You know what I mean? This dude is just a it's just a good dude, man. And so, and that's you try to keep those folks around you. You know what I mean? I think creating out of spaces where you're legit fans of your best friends, and it's not just because they're your friends, it's because they're actually hella dope at what they do. And they quality human beings too. So when it was time to, you know, uh, you know, think about features on the album, and this track was just like the bass line sold me. This was a beat that he just played like, oh yeah, I've been working on this. You know what I'm saying? And slid it. And I was like, bro, well, what? No, this has to be on the album. Like hands down, and start thinking, it was like, oh, me don't make this is a double O track. This is the Omega Watts
Mhm.
Ozay double O joint. Like we got to do that. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
man.
a boy track.
Yeah.
That vibe. Yeah. So I want to shift gears, Black, to talk about your album Abstractions with Zoe, that
Yeah,
you released earlier. Well, I think you released it like in April of this year.
yeah.
What made y'all two want to collaborate for a project, you and Zoe?
But repeat that one more time. You got broke up real quick, bro.
Oh, I'm sorry. What made you and Zoe want to collaborate for the Abstractions project?
Man, um, I wish I had Zoe on here to kind of really tell his side of the story. But again in 2019, as he tells it, like, he was kind of going through some little personal stuff, and he's done a lot of stuff with like foreign exchange and his own personal projects and stuff. So um at the time I was living in DC, so that's another spot. I didn't basically told you about 4 spots I didn't lived in this whole conversation, right? Anyways, um he was kind of, I guess he kind of hit a little bit of a plateau, whatever, whatnot. And his collaborator that he's been collaborating with for 15 years plus, Fonte, was like, "Yo, what if you collaborate?" And he was like, "Yeah, I'm down." And I stayed like 20 minutes away from Zoe. Um, and yo, soon I kid you not, as soon as we got up, we made like 2 tracks in a matter of like a hour or two. And we was like, why didn't we do this before? You know what I mean? And so initially he was bringing me on to do, because he was doing Forefront. I think that was the album that he was trying to finish up. So he had me come in, and I got on some programming. And then from there, we just kept recording, and then the pandemic happened. But we had a brunt of that album done in 2019. And then once the pandemic kind of, somewhat subsided, or we try to figure out a way, with the Zooms and whatnot, we kind of finished, kind of continue to kind of elaborate on the ideas that we had. And then yeah, man, it was a very, very, very special collaboration, man. And that's the same thing with me too. Like I've came to a point in my musical journey where I'm really don't like making music too much by myself anymore. Like, it's cool, it's dope, I can make beats, I can play, but like it's nothing better than having like another person in the room with you with the same, mindset and, vibe and, all that stuff. So, you know, I think from this point forward, I probably will never do an album by myself ever again.
Wow. That's
I have to bring somebody in, like, rather it be, I just need you just to come to the spot, man, vibe out, because I listen to, people ideas, man. Ideas is, I don't want to have all the ideas. I want to hear what other folks, and we can all work together to make this one awesome song.
yeah, the
You know
collective.
what I mean? Collective, you know what I mean? And that, I mean, really, truth be told, like a lot of the best records and stuff we will ever hear was with 6, 7, 8 people in the room together. You know what I'm saying? And who am I? Like, I play, you got a few little things you play, but like, nah, I got this homie, man. He plays bass. He's ill. Let me get this piano player. He's ill. Let me get this horn player. He's ill. Let me get this songwriter. She's ill. You know what I'm saying? And you put all that into one room, man. Something else, man.
Yeah, man. And as I'm looking at the album, man, and I this is definitely an album I did listen to around the time when it came out. And I'm seeing like the features on this, like shout out to Be My Fiasco. Like her album is amazing. Like that's like one of my favorite albums,
Yeah,
one of
yeah,
my favorite soul albums of the year. And
yeah.
I mean, I remember,
We did
the
one on
track.
that too.
Yeah, I see. It's the first track, Talking to Myself. And
Mm,
you guys got like the Cy Smith, Black Milk, Elzai is one of my favorites, like my top 3
yeah,
favorite C's of all time. And like you got Omar on here, Darian Brockington. Is that Musina? Yep, Musina Fonte is on here. So like that's an experience, right? Being able to work with um vocal artists and also work with like MCs Like, what would you say is like the difference between working with vocal artists or singers primarily for a project versus working with an MC like Ozay or a different MC?
Well,
How
Ozay, I
experience?
wouldn't classify Ozay as just an MC because he does both, and he understands, again, color, and when it goes, melodics, when it goes into when you start making music, for vocalists and stuff. So for vocalists, like the thing I've noticed about the vocalists is that they don't like a lot of change in the chords. Like they, it has to be a frequency that they can understand and they can be able to do their thing,
Okay.
And two, you have to know how to make bridges and learn. You have to know how to, if you got a vocalist, let's say Messina, right?
Right.
Like a rapper, you're only going to have his lead and maybe some doubles and some ad libs. That's
Right.
about 3 or 4 tracks, right? With, like I said, a case of a singer, man, you can have anywhere from 20 to 60 tracks of vocals that you gotta know how to navigate and know how to move them and consolidate them and make sure that they're not overbearing and stuff like that. That's a whole process in itself. And two, you gotta understand you can't be tone deaf. So you gotta hear when the singer's off and know how to coach them to get the right tone. Stuff like that. MC's a little different. I mean, again, in the case of Ozay, even though he is an MC, he does understand song. He understands song structure. What I mean, the basics. What I mean, but then he adds on the singing element, which I love too. What I mean. So having best of those both worlds, though. I tend to like those type of artists more if they can do both, as opposed to you just doing your regular. What is it? What's the classic the format for hip hop songs? What is a 4 8-bar intro, 16-bar verses, and then you got 3 8-bar choruses or whatever. Like that's easy. What I mean? With singing, with vocalists, it's a little bit more. You got to time to kind of take the singer, the person on a journey dealing with a vocalist. There's a lot more to manage. You got to manage.
Speaking of that, how have you been able to build up the tolerance to be able to manage that with a vocalist? Because that's a lot, Like
Yeah, man.
what makes you know what? I'm gonna give my all to this vocal project that I'm doing for this singer or for these variety of singers versus just taking what could be the easier route and just being like, you know what, I'm gonna rock with the MCs for the next 2 hours, something like that. What
Right.
keeps you in tune with the managing of that singer project?
I mean, because truth be told, like I'm an R&B head too, though. So I love R&B. Like that's one I remember I had stopped listening to hip hop for about 5 years and just straight went listen to all R&B, in the early 90s. Well, mid 90s rather. You know, but I'm a sucker for somebody that has a voice on them. I grew up in church, so like I understand that connection between the voice and the spiritual aspect of it. And if it gets me, man, I'm like, man, I want to, because I want to be that artist that could do that, but that's not my gifting. I mean, my gifting is making the canvas for the artist. What I mean? But I hear it, and I sing on my stuff you would never know it. I might have some little riffs, whatever. But yeah, I'm a sucker for a great
You gotta
vocalist.
tell us. You gotta. Are you singing on this project
A Progress and Progression? Did I do anything on there? I didn't do nothing on that one. But
Okay.
on Let's Take a Trip and my first project, 8 Miles of Mona, I did. And there's some other tracks I got out here. I kind of got little nuggets in there and whatnot,
How did you and Zoe establish which roles you each would play as contributing producers to the project?
I think with us, because Zoe, he is a multi instrumentalist, so he plays guitar, bass, and piano. He plays three different instruments. You know what I mean? Me on the other side, like, and he's like, I think he's like trained and all the other stuff too. You know what I mean? Me, I kind of just I taught myself. You know what I mean? But the thing I do have is I could program. I could program drums and stuff like that. So instantly, I'm like, okay, what if I take my drums and then put his playing, and then we just kind of add in the middle and see where it fits in. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of been the kind of the aesthetic for us, though. You know what I mean? You know, because he is a piano player. Like, you know, it takes me sometimes a little bit longer to, you know, come up with chords or whatnot. I could do it, but it just I'm like, man, if you do that dope, let me go do this other thing. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? All I want is the dope. I want the dope song. I don't care how we get it. I just want that. You know what I mean? And so,
Right.
you know, but the great thing is too, because he is a piano player, he makes me want to get better. So when we're in the studio, okay, you're playing this chord progression. Let me look over your shoulder real quick, what you doing, and then I got to figure this out fast, you know, because my recording session was going like that, you know. And so I will say I have became a better player being around a cat like that. You know what I mean? Just because it kind of forces you to, you know what I mean? Because it just makes the workflow that much easier. If it's opposed to me trying to figure out every single thing you're trying to play, you know, I got to kind of practice at home. And when we get in the studio session, all right, you doing this? Okay, I got you. And then I'll figure it out and blah, 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 blah.
That's dope, man. It's great when you can see the big picture and you each can bring your best to the table for the collaborative effort. So
Yeah.
I want to go back to the album of Process and Progression. The song Mud. Ozay, you say on that song, evolution will forever be a part of this, but ain't no substitution for character and skills building process. Can you expound on the deeper meaning of that line and why it was important to repeat it at different moments of the song?
Yeah, you know, although Mud isn't the title track, I feel like it sums up the concept of the album, at least in a musical sense, and I guess speaking specifically to hip hop. And so I paint, you know what I'm saying, as well. I DJ a little bit, but that I do these things because I kind of came up in a space where I have proximity to writers. I knew graffiti writers. They were showing me how to get busy in my black book. You know what I'm saying? They were teaching me the techniques and can control. And I'll go, I'm not going to front like I was out here just killing the town and crushing walls. That wasn't me. I was on the mic. But the homies, they were out here for real, you know? But I gravitated towards the craft. Um, but in all of it, in anything you do, there are certain things that you just can't bypass to be a master at it, to be dope at it, to be good at it, you know. Now technology will have you kind of reroute beyond some of maybe the more cumbersome type activities or experiences that folks who didn't have that technology at the disposal, you
Mhm.
know. But still there is a process to greatness. I think there's another line in there is like, the band had an issue with the DJ, and the DJ had an issue with the algorithm. But if you're good at what you do, it doesn't matter what you use. Just show respect to those who came before and push the limits, and it don't stop, never will. I'm gonna get better still. This idea is that, like, you can either, get with it or get left behind in a way, and I think for older heads, sometimes it's hard for us to imagine a culture that is familiar to us, or one that we feel like we can continue to be a part of outside of our biases and outside of the things that we experienced and were experiencing when we fell in love with the culture. But the reality is that's what the generation felt like when we came on the scene
Right.
before us. They felt the same way. They felt like, what the hell is what they doing? And I love the interview you did with Horseman, and I love the jewels and the knowledge that, y'all, if y'all listening right now, go back and listen to that Horseman interview with Killer Priest and Corrupt, um, you know, it was and Razcast, it was chock full of nuggets. I'm listening to this thing like, man, exactly. That's exactly.
Appreciate
Um,
that.
Granted, their vantage point is a little different because they were top tier. You know what I'm saying? World recognized. And this super group of MCs. But to hear the sentiment echoed, and I love that Corrupt was like, yo, stop bashing these kids. You know what I'm saying? Stop boo-hooing our youth, you know what I'm saying, and what they doing. There has to be a continuation of this culture. It has to move forward. But I
Mm,
don't think we need to dispose of, discard the processes that got us here. You know what I'm
right.
saying? In our classes, so I said that we mentor you through hip hop culture. So part of that is teaching the code, teaching the history. You know what I'm saying? I say this to everyone. I say this to everyone. I'm like, yo, there's not one kid playing the cello who does not know who Beethoven is. You know what I'm saying? There ain't nobody doing any kind of classical nothing who don't know who Chopin and Beethoven and but tell me why. So many aspiring rappers have no idea who Busy B is, have no idea who Modi is, have no idea who Herc is, And that, to me, that's tragic. Because that's part of our history. That's part of the history of the diaspora. That's Black people's history, right there. That's our culture's history. And we are quick to dismiss it sometimes, you know what I'm saying? And we are the type of people who we just, we keep it going. On to the next. We create new stuff. We create new shit. That's what we do. We keep it fresh. We keep it funky. We keep it new. At the same time with that, I also say, yo, let's really honor, the architects in
Absolutely.
everything we do, and let's build on top of that legacy to pay respects to those who who were pushing the limits without the modern conveniences and the technology. They were creating shit because they were master technicians. Flash, master technician. You know what I'm saying? Creating the mixer, creating the tool he uses. Every DJ uses now. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, that was really the sentiment. That's what that song was about. You know what I'm saying? You cannot, evolution will forever be a part of this, but ain't no substitution for the skills built through processes.
Right,
So
right, right.
wherever you at, lean into them processes and you'll be better for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. Very well said. And it's so funny that the next question I was going to ask you was in reference to the line about the band had an issue with the DJ.
Mm-hmm.
And with that quote where you say, just show respect to those who came before and push the limit, which, like you said, is speaking to the same concept. Like, when I think about that, I think about the fact that I guess there's this saying that you give respect to the elders, but you continue their work,
Mm.
or as you say, push the limit, right? You give respect, but you continue to add on. Is that kind of what you were
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
for with that? Yeah.
Yeah, because the follow up, the last line of that whole verse was, don't start never well, I'm gonna get better still, to show respect to those who came before and push the limits, and it don't stop, never will. I'm gonna get better still. Don't forget what I've built. I'm gonna leave you a pedestal. Hope you make it look easy, dog. I'm for
Mm,
the future. Build the house higher than we had the ladder or the tools for. I want you to do that. That's your job. You know what I'm saying? That is your job as you carry the torch, build it, keep building, but realize what's at the basement, realize what's on the foundation, realize the cornerstone of what you're doing. You can't go and, man, listen, we up in here working with kids. How we look, telling them to, yo, man, you just I don't understand trap. I don't get it. I don't know what you're doing. I understand. It don't make no sense to me. You mumbling, whatever it is, our critiques, you know, it's a whole different it's a whole different idea, a whole different energy when you step into this space and you appreciate the new generation for getting it how they getting it and adding to, you know,
right,
when you bring the context of what they're building on top of, skill and importance is undeniable,
right,
So now I'm talking to young people who at the same time they listen to XX Extension, they Doom fans too. You know what I'm
right, right,
saying?
right. That be yeah, that's happening. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they appreciate what Doom brought. Then they go back KMD. Oh, yeah, third base. Oh, the rabbit trail will just take you there. You know what I'm saying? But ain't nobody gonna take that trip if they don't feel like they're invited to
I see.
take it on their own terms. You know what I'm saying? They're not gonna hop on that train and go look at that if you telling them that, like, what do you do? So some gas somebody up. The first thing you do, you're looking at it through critical eyes and you dismantling, like, that's basic rap. So what's that so important, man? I'm way doper than that. I'll kill him in a, you know what I'm saying? It's like, no, you gotta understand the time that was happening. That was revolutionary, you know what I'm saying? But if they take that trip on their own terms and they're not feeling guarded or feeling defensive, they can appreciate it for what it is and value that history. And I think we as elders and elders in the culture got to encourage young folks to do that without telling them their junk is whack or because we don't understand it. You know what I'm saying? Just encourage, you know.
Well said, bro. Well said. So the song "Make It Like This" touches on this topic of gentrification and the effects, I guess the negative effects it's had on the Black community.
Mm.
While gentrification is a topic that often affects a community at large, what are some steps people can take individually to empower themselves and overcome some of the negative effects of gentrification?
I mean, I don't have all the answers, you
Yeah,
know.
sure.
So
But just from an
Lance,
individual standpoint,
sure.
even though it's a collective that gets affected by it,
Well,
what are some
one,
individual steps?
so one is just being more involved in these policies as they're being made. You know what I'm saying? I think a lot of what happens is we, folks will be disconnected from what's happening in these rooms, right? So Lansing is kind of small. And as an artist in the community, I've been invited, and as a community organizer and working, with youth and working these different spaces, I've been invited into these conversations, under, diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is a real hot topic right now in the nonprofit world and in organizations across the globe, especially America, right? So you're looking for, oh, who can we bring to the table? So I accept, I come to the table, I listen, and you realize folks don't, if I wasn't there, they'd be like, well, hold on. Y'all was just about to sign off on that. You don't understand what that's gonna do to this neighborhood, to this community here. Now, wait a minute. Like, I know you thinking it's gonna build equity, it's gonna do, but you didn't consider this, you didn't consider this, you didn't consider this, you didn't consider this. These are all things I know something about. You don't know anything about that. Here you are making decisions on what's gonna happen in our community, and the reason Make It Like This came about is because we just had this mural festival in Lansing. And we know what happens when these murals go up, property rates, especially in, little towns like this, where developers move in and be like, oh, there's a dope mural, there's a cool coffee shop over there. You for hanging out, it's hip, it's cool. Meanwhile, everybody who grew up in that hood realized this is a very different, this is a different energy. And when they, and we don't know how to feel about it. One part I like the new amenities, but damn, like, why the property rates gotta go? Why the rates gotta go up so high? Why now I gotta figure out where I'm gonna be at. And so the inspiration for that song came right at the tail of us having the mural festival where Tall Black Guy came out.
Mm,
So we wanted to speak on it because we were responsible, partially responsible for these murals going up.
mm,
But we made sure it was the community you saw on these walls, Black women on the walls, Black children, Black men, Black, indigenous folks, Latinos, Latinx community on the walls. This is our community. And so the idea and the charge was like, hey, we need to be in these public spaces. We need to be at the table when they're making these decisions. We can own this. We can own this. We can be a vital part in the decision making for sure. You know what I'm saying? And that's my 2 cents. There's a lot more. I don't claim to understand all the politics, and economic politics that go into all of that. You see a pattern and it's repeated over and over again. And the one thing I think sometimes is missing is just us being present to
yes.
advocate in the spaces where we need to advocate, not after the fact, but while they're having these meetings. You know what I'm saying? While they're having these council meetings and all of that. Stuff sounds ridiculous and boring, like I don't understand. But if you get in there, just show up and listen. You will hear some shit that you like, for real. This is your answer to that. I got a million different better options than that. Just based, and my community does too. You know what
Mm.
I'm saying? So That's been my goal. It's just like, hey, you open the door for me. I'm open the door for the rest of the homies. I'm open the doors for the rest of my community to come in and send these conversations too and pay attention and listen to what they're talking about, so that we can weigh in. If they listening now, which I feel like there's a little different energy in terms of hearing a different perspective, at least in our community, which is refreshing. But we need to be present. We need to be there. We need to be able to advocate for ourselves before the fact. You know what I'm saying? In the spaces where those votes matter and those count and it's counted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
One
You
way.
know, on the topic of self-advocating, it leads me to my next question, where in the hook to the song New Power, vocalist Tony Ozay
Mm-hmm.
sings that it starts with building in my community, so I'm going to be the change that I want to see. He says that
Mm-hmm.
in the hook.
Mm-hmm.
How would you describe the characteristics of a positive leader? Like if you had to give some
Mm-hmm.
attributes of what a positive
Man.
leader embodies.
Hey, we're not looking for a flawless individual. That's not possible. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's fallible. I think it's the person's willing to show up and do the work, though it be thankless, and though the
Mm,
cameras may not be on, and there's no photo op, there's no
mm-hmm,
none of that. You're just doing it because it's right, and
mm-hmm,
that's it. I think that's what it is. I think a leader leads regardless of who's watching. You know what I'm saying? And you do what's right regardless. I feel like that's those are attributes. I mean, that's what I aspire to be. It ain't about who I'm leading. You follow me too much, you're gonna be disappointed. You know what I mean? That's just the reality. But I think you can lead by example. The first one to show up, last one to leave. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm here to serve. You know what I'm saying? It's about servanthood. It's not about being served. You know what I mean? So leadership is about being the first one to get your hands dirty and to serve the people because it's the right thing to do, and not because the cameras are on, or there's press there.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. So I want to get back to this next question. I want to get back to you, Black. Track number 8 on the album, entitled Running Away, featuring singer
mm-hmm,
Malaya, is probably
mm-hmm,
the best and most emotional song on the album,
mm-hmm.
in my opinion. You made a post on your IG recently of Malaya singing a cover version of Farside's Running, and kind of detailing how this cover turned into this song. Would you mind speaking on how this collaboration with Malaya came to be and the emotional connection you have to this record?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
man.
you don't have to go
One
too detail
the
if you don't,
time
but go for it.
I mean, I'm not gonna go too detailed it, yeah, but just say up until that point, man, I had a lot of personal things going on. Like I said in the post the other day, it was, a failed marriage. And then that marriage, it was, for me to cope, alcohol tend to find itself, and I abused that, you know, a lot, you know, and it actually ended up, kind of hurting me even after the fact, after I got out of that situation. It was still something that was very lingering, and then, end up developing anxiety, it was just a lot of different things going on, man. And I knew I needed to get some help. I knew that, and yeah, I ended up deciding to go get some help, go to a therapist, and just to, because I was scared to do it, but it just something like I have to do this. I'm gonna like self destruct. This is just not. This is just it just wasn't really working out. Me trying to do it by myself, like I needed some assistance. I needed another non-biased person to kind of give me some info and some details on some things, and tools to kind of help me cope. And yeah, I end up going to the therapy session, and as I was, about to start my session, I happened to, scroll on a little, the IG joint, and that the Malaya, I don't know how she got on my timeline. I don't know. I never knew this person. I never followed her or anything. It just happened to come up. And I'm sitting there listening to her like, man, that is ridiculous. But the thing that was killing me was the chords. The
Mm.
chords, something about the emotion that she put into the version of what she was doing and the way she was singing it. You know, it just like at that moment, it registered with me so much. I just sat there and I just, I cried, because I knew I was supposed to be at that therapist and getting that assistance, and this sister was that was sent to me. That was sent to me, and yeah, I connected with her. I was like, yo, I basically told her the same thing. I said, this is what I was going through. This song was really doing this thing, it did a number to me, whatnot. And so I'm like, yo, just if you could just like sing a little demo for this real quick, and then I'll just take care of the rest. That's all I told her, So I ended up learning what she played, and then I did all the production and everything. Um, and then so fast forward to I went to go see Ozay, and this is all around the same time. The Mural Festival, hung out, we did Vibe Right and all the other stuff. I played him this track. Now I think that verse was to a whole completely different beat that I had, right? Yeah. And for some reason, I don't think it really caught, I didn't really catch it the first time, but then the second time when he said it again, and I remember just like it was yesterday. We were sitting in this kitchen and I was kind of, really kind of just kind of being vulnerable with him, telling him what was going on with me, whatnot. And so I think I either played the beat and instantly when he said it, and it's definitely, about, in this journey of like, making music and you feel like you're not getting your chance and whatnot, I felt that was one thing that kind of stuck out to me, and again, that marriage of what he was saying and how I felt at that time. Again, it was a magical moment, and again, I teared up on that time, man. And it took us quite a while to kind of finish it, because then I had to like track down the girl to try to to get her to re-sing the hook and whatnot, because she just gave me the demo, but then she ended up adding a whole bridge to it and everything. It was crazy. And then I getting a string section and horns and whatnot, to it. But yeah, man, I think overall that song just means so much because of the significance that, where I was heading, where I'm at now, in that journey with that, was just through the fact that I had some little bit of turmoil, and then that song kind of just brought me out, And so, even maybe a couple days ago, I listened to it again and again. It does it every time. I
Yeah,
had a little moment in the car,
that's
you
powerful.
know. Yeah.
It's a powerful
So
record. And speaking about how Jose was able to kind of capture some of what you were feeling lyrically, like how do you think you were able to do that, Jose? Or I mean, you could even speak on it too, Black. Like either one of y'all, like what it was it that made Jose, you know, hit home like that with the lyrics, and maybe if you could give like some examples of lyrics that he said or lines that he said that was like that was resonating with you.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think if I remember it correctly, and then sometimes, there's because our goal is to make quality songs. How you get to that song, as long as it's true and authentic. Um,
yeah.
some of those some of the hip hop MC type, and I wrote to that, oh, I did that in one take, what I'm saying, on, some of the things you used to like get excited about in terms of your craft. Um, I'm not on that anymore, so it was like, yo, I have a verse for this track that I didn't even write to this track for it. And there again, that's that some kind of divine intervention or something, you know what I'm saying, universe, call it whatever. It just felt like it brought that piece just fits so well with that piece of music. The rhymes fit so well. So I think the opening line, I remember seeing I remember your eyes, bro, because I was like, oh man, I got something. Check it out. It was a simple like hip hop fashion, like, oh, do I got something for this? Check it out, you know. And so I opened up. Well, can a man give his all and not expect a return? Let me put it like this, because if you answer yes, the follow up to that is more about
Yeah.
if you're bleeding heart. How long before you end up bleeding out? Devoted, devout, principled, committed, content, and all slept inside your cup as a sip. You know what I'm saying? It was like, I'm trying, nigga. Like, I'm trying. I'm
Man,
trying. You know
see
what I'm
again.
saying?
I'm doing it. I'm
And
doing it again, dog.
you not, that's it. You just trying, you doing your best. And it just doesn't feel like it's good enough, man. That's the realest. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah,
we
yeah,
pull ourselves up and we just keep on pushing. I think that song really was about trauma and mental health in our community. You know what I'm saying? I think our response to that is just, it's all good. It's good. It's good. You know what I'm saying? Laugh it off, smoke it off. Whatever it is we do to kind of like not really deal with it.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? But it comes up. And what I love so much
yeah,
about my man is that we're sitting here in the kitchen and he's telling me, like he's giving me a clinic on what all black men, all black folks, all people should be considering, if they've experienced any sort of trauma, but culturally we feel like it's taboo. We just go to church and pray it away, or I think there's a line in there,
Yeah.
saying,
yeah,
you know, what imagine if Hathaway had more than a melody to support him, maybe he'd still be around to sing out the answers. You know what I'm saying? Another one where it was talking about, you know, if you go to church and it don't work, they stick around a little longer and try to cast it out of you. Right now, we're gonna cast this thing. Like you got, if the prayers ain't
mm,
working now, let's just rebuke it. You know what I'm saying? I think sometimes we don't say, hey, why don't we just look at this for what it is? I'm hurt. You know what I'm saying? I'm experiencing a level of trauma that is crippling me in a way. And I don't think if we don't get the help we need, if we don't get the counseling we need, if we don't put down those guards as it relates to mental health, and like, you know, and just having to be so strong, you know what I'm saying, and having to like just power through and be like, nah, ain't it, no, 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 that's weak. That's look, that man, I've been shot at. That ain't nothing. You know what I'm saying? This little thing, but realize, but it's getting us from inside. You know what I'm saying? It's breaking us down internally. You know what I'm saying? So putting the same priority on our physical health as our mental health, and leaving it just as that, man. When you got to get help, you got to get help. There ain't nothing more beautiful than being honest and vulnerable. And I think that's why I rock with my man so tough, because he is the model of transparency and truth and honesty and realness. You know what I'm saying? Ain't no other agenda except for to be his authentic self, whether that's on the beats or in person. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And yeah, man, it was an honor to be able to articulate, what he was feeling over the track. And I think that vibration it just works. Some things just work. You don't know why peanut butter and jelly just works. You know what I'm saying? Salty sweet just works. Caramel and salt works.
yeah,
Just our thing just works.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think too, when you originally wrote that, and I remember the beat too. I remember it again. I don't think I even had went to therapy. I wasn't even. I don't think I had signed up yet. And so I think the significance, giving it some time and some patience, and when I've sat and thought about it, I think it just, again, like you said, man, it just kind of, it was divine order, and that was just the way it was supposed to happen. And then I actually, for me, I listened, and I think it was more when you said it in person. When you
Wow.
said it, and we were in the kitchen, we was building. I think that's what it was. You know what I mean? And yeah, man, that's gone forever. I yesterday, in the post, I said, I thank Malaya,
Yeah.
for her, her deciding to cover it. And I think from what I remember, I think she was going through something too. I think that's why she even sang a song in the first place. You know,
Mhm.
and
Yo, it's amazing
yeah,
when
man, that's a special record.
yeah, it's amazing when everybody can come together and just make that kind of magic happen, you know.
Mhm.
I gotta commend y'all as artists for being vulnerable in your music because I know that I believe that could be sometimes a conflict at times because you might not want to
Mhm.
share too much. But I feel like there's this sense of, as an artist, because I'm an artist myself,
Mhm.
there's this sense of just being your authentic self that you have to be
Mhm.
and kind of gotta
Yeah.
get. Do you guys experience that same thing when it comes to putting like really, vulnerable music out?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think you need to trace. Well, for both of us, we have children,
Mhm.
so you know, you being one way at home and then being a whole nother way as an artist, man, that's a conflict of interest in itself. You know what I mean? Because they
Right.
hold you accountable
That's
more
true.
than anybody, your family, more or less. I should say that.
That's
You know what
true.
I mean? And so if you out here, you one thing at home, and then you out here, and I gotta get all the bitches and everything else, and blah 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 blah. Your kid gonna be looking like, man, why you like that, bro? You know, why you like that? You know what I mean? So, and I just, again, man, people can see through you acting a certain type of way. They can see through that. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And the thing is, too, once you understand your role in this game and how you're going to be as an artist, and it's all individual basis, is really no right or wrong way. You're going to live your true self. But I'll say for myself, I speak for me, like, you know, I have a responsibility that I have to create art that is going to keep the integrity of myself, and at the same time deliver a message to somebody that's going through whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
Right. Right.
I have to do that. That's just me. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm.
everybody ain't got to do that. Now, I gravitate towards art that does the same thing, i.e. Ozay Moore. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right. Right.
that's the
Mhm.
reason, that's the thing. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm. Mhm.
And this art is it's a very powerful tool, man. And we've seen it get abused, but then
Absolutely.
we've seen it move mountains before too,
Absolutely.
and
Wow.
so
Mouthful with that. And you know what's interesting about you, Black, is that you're not necessarily a vocal artist, but you're able to speak your feelings and your emotions, your authentic feelings and emotions through your instrumental music, which is a which is communication as well.
Mhm.
You
yeah.
know, so I appreciate your both your integrity and authenticity with the music. I feel that it makes for music that stays and lasts long, right? Longevity music
Mm,
and
hmm.
music that people can relate to because that's one of the to me the most, as Keith Murray says, the most beautifulest thing, right? About music is that it can relate to so many people. You might
Yeah.
be going through something, but you put it on record and you pour your emotions on record and you realize how many other people resonate with it. So that's dope, man. So I wanted to ask you, the next track is entitled Does Anybody Care?
Mm,
Can you tell us the significance? What is the significance in asking that question? Does anybody care?
wow. Who you gonna have to help me out on this. When I presented this to you, dude, when are we going through like all that police brutality stuff, or
Oh
was that like
man,
later? There was that like later or something.
no, it was just an old boy got shot. in the back.
with his kids. With his
Yeah.
kids and the
Hmm. And
yep.
you called and you were like, bro, I don't, man, I don't know if I could. What the, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
What? You know what I'm saying? What is
yeah,
one? We in a pandemic, so we locked down. You
yeah,
watching the world, like literally. I remember the night where I was like, "Yo, it's the purge for real, for real." I don't know what's
yeah,
going on, but every city's
yeah,
on fire. You
yeah,
know, it was just real hot, man. I remember, uh, and yet I'm still, hearing people fix their mouth to point at um things that were not the issue. Still pointing at um the effects of deeper issues as being the issue. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Or as being the reason why, or you know what I'm saying, without like really talking about what we really need to change and what really needs to happen. I think so much of what our convictions in this is not to be perfect, man. It's not to be nothing. It ain't even to be a leader. It's just like, yo, man, I could either sit here and talk about how effed up the world is and everything else, man, or I could use what my voice and my platform or my music. And that's just my own personal, what I'm saying? I appreciate everybody's contribution to art and how they do it. You know what I'm saying? Full respect to you don't gotta do it like me. You know what I'm saying? That creates more space for me to do me. You know what I mean? But the reality of it is I feel that this is the space where I get to like really flesh out and have conversations like this. Because to me, it's not even all about the song. It's about times like this. It's about
Mhm.
times where because of the song, now you're having a conversation with somebody, you building with somebody for real, you know. And so, does anybody care? Um, I think came by, you had the sample, you were like, yo, I've been wanting to flip this. And you sent it to me. It was just that loop. And, didn't even need no drums, man. So we got in that
mm-mm,
bag. Just the loop to do his thing. And again, I was able to get vulnerable about, my faith, all of that, how I've allowed aspects to unravel completely, and just share that, talk about that. It's all looking counterfeit to me. You can't tell me nothing if you could use that same energy to defend, you know, uh, what is clearly wrong. You are grasping now. You are scrambling for a footing to justify what's happening right now, and you're using this text, you're using this holy book, you're using whatever you're using to justify crimes against humanity and against folks. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it was like, does anybody care enough to really talk about what's really, like, put your biases aside, just look at the data, look at the facts, look at the science, look at the patterns, look at history for real. The history as the people know it, not as the books retell it, as the people who lived through it explain it. You know what I'm saying? And some of these manuscripts that get discarded or burnt or re-edited to make it to support an agenda. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of this. I even say, uh, I'm really not that positive. Something about come to the point where I'm not positive about much, except for that we're quick to admit the truth if we don't protect the power strip.
Yeah, I
Zap,
remember that.
Roger that. I'm airing out a bit. Bad
mm-hmm.
foundation. No wonder why the house is split. You know what I'm saying? Um, does anybody care to be really real about it? You know? And that's really where that was coming from. You feel
Mhm.
me?
Like I said, man, those last three tracks from Running Away to Does Anybody Care and Black Is, like they just pack a powerful punch from a soul perspective, but also from an emotional perspective.
Mm.
Um, it,
Mm-hmm.
the layers of the lyrics and just the instrumentation it just goes up a notch as you guys close the album. So the final track on the album is called Black.
Mhm.
Kids. Definitely one of my favorites on the project. Um, I see that it features Rich Medina on there. What role is he playing on the track? Is he the one speaking on the outro?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he what was crazy, I think we were trying to get him on the intro, and just the timing of it didn't really work out. And after we listened to it, listened to the prelude, we was just like, I know particularly for me, I was like, man, you actually sound dope on that. You should just stay right there. You know, just we're good right there. But then when I got the track together for Rich Medina, and once we had finished, got all the lyrics and everything in place, and pretty much had a good canvas. I don't just for some reason, man, like his voice was just in my ears so much to the point where I had to like practically beg this guy. Like I heard him in my dream. I heard his voice,
Wow.
And I was like, dog, whatever I need to do to get you to kind of do your thing. Because if you've ever built and talked to Rich Medina, man, knowledge and wisdom. I mean, he drops so many jewels on you, man, and he compares everything to basketball.
As though.
I love it. His analogies is all about basketball because I think he played like semi-pro. But yeah, man, and I remember because I met Rich at the playlist retreat with Jazzy Jeff, and I remember this one thing that stuck with me when he told me this. He's like, "Yo, cats don't never really want to produce me because they think that I, know everything and a lot, but I want to be produced. As long as you give me the subject, what you want, and guide me in the direction that that you're trying to, convey, whatever, I'm gonna do it. And I'm not above correction." I was like, word, you know what I mean? So when we, I think I had like Tyson kind of give like an overview or something like that. I sent it to him, and then I kind of talked to him, and he recorded it, and think in like two different sections, two different times. Yeah, because I had to fix something. But yeah, man, I mean, he came in, man. And for those that don't know, I think Rich was on like Def Poetry Jam like back in the day. He got some good pen work.
Whole legend.
I didn't know that. And that could probably be one of the reasons why his voice fits so perfectly.
Yeah.
And because I know Rich DJ, so like it's dope that you were able to hear his voice and it fit perfect for the track. He said something at the end of that song as he's talking. He says, "The odds we battle are no small odds at all. And as you can see, we have not lost any belief in ourselves or our purpose, because our purpose is one of process and progression." Can you elaborate more on this concept of the album title, which our purpose, our purpose of process and progression? Like, how does, I guess the question I really want to ask is like, what does purpose have to do with the process and progression? How
That's
is
a great, yeah, that's great.
Yeah, how is the purpose?
That's a great question.
And progression, as he says.
Man, I think, ooh,
because you grow into your purpose, right?
You grow into it, yeah, man, and it's the struggle. You know what I'm saying? It is the struggle, the beautiful struggle. So let's just put it like this. As Black Americans, when we think about our history, it starts in Arkansas, starts in Georgia. You know what I'm saying? Great granddad, grandma, dad. You know what I'm saying? If you are fortunate enough, you got like technology now where you could swab and trace it back to Ivory Coast or Ghana or wherever.
Right.
But for a lot of all we have known is an oppressive state of the world, of the country, and just oppression. You know what I'm saying? Even in our celebration and our resilience, it's still this Black is not celebrated for it being what it is. It's celebrated as the tastemaker, as the this, as that what we have contributed. but not for just being human and being fully human. No questions asked, no, you know what I'm saying? Just not. So there's always this tension of like, yo, man, people looking at, well, how do I explain black? Well, look at so and so, they're black, and or look at that. This is what black is. This black is this. Black is that. Black is this. Black is it. Black is me. Black is you. Black is us. Black is free. Black. This is. We are black. It's not a monolith. All of our multiple, the variety, the spectrum of our existence, the spectrum of our experiences is blackness. But the thread has been this attack on Black lives out the door. You know what I'm saying? And upon arrival, before arrival, upon capture, you feel me? That's what we know, you know? And I think without me speaking for Rich, but what that speaks to me is, you know, because our you know, our purpose is one of process and progression. So there is we need to know our history. We need to know the history of the land. We need to know the history of these policies. We know the history of these things that have affected us in a way. We need to understand that. And we as a people, and not just us, everybody. There's a great quote. Paulo Freire said it in Pedagogy of the Oppressed. He said, liberation is a collective effort. It's not one group finding liberation. It takes everybody supporting the liberation of any group of people, of all people, you know. Right. One group is oppressed, all are oppressed. That kind of idea, like, nah, everybody's guilty if one group is still being killed at a rate way higher than everybody else. Because either you're being passive, you're not. It's not enough to be not racist. To be anti-racist is pro people, to pro everybody. You know what I'm saying? So that's a very different disposition, because you can't be passive. You have to lean in and expect more and advocate on behalf of people, just for the sake of them being human. You know, so I feel like that last line summed up the social aspect of the album, right? Because we talk about there's this artistic, there's this personal, there's this societal, there's this, you know, and I really feel that statement brought it full circle. You know what I'm saying? We could talk about making raps or making beats, but this is all human experiences we're celebrating and talking about here. You know what I'm saying? And there are things we should look at, we should examine. I knew that we needed medicine you know, in this time, man. You know, what everybody's been going through, we needed music that felt therapeutic, that felt like medicine, that felt good, that felt like, yo, I'm glad I listened to that. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad I let that one sit for a minute. And that's really, I from top to bottom, from that last phrase from Rich, everything in between to the opening statement. You know what I mean? I feel like that was our intent with this album, is to just have some folks could heal with and let it soak, you know, Epsom salt album. You feel me? Soak in that, you know what I'm saying? Get your joints together.
I think it was really dope and clever that y'all had him close the album by saying the actual album title. And as I'm thinking about it, I think it's all the reason why people need to listen to this album all the way through, because it's like he says the title at the end, when typically you would think he would say it, or that would be expressed in the beginning of the album.
Right.
But it almost kind of comes across like, I get it now.
Listen, some of the best art is accidental. You know what I mean? We didn't tell him to write that. You know, he just, that's what he did. And that's when Tall Black knew song's done. You know what I'm saying? We couldn't let it ride for another 2 minutes. And he's like, nah, that's it. Song was done.
Nah, you know that's it right there. Cause he wrote it down, but then he like freestyled some of that too. Cause I remember we had to recall some of the lyrics for the liner notes. It's like, dude, some of that stuff I don't even remember. I just kind of was just, you know, but he had a lot more to say. I think I cut some of it out. But I was just like, yo, that's it right there, dog. I immediately knew that was that's what that track needed. That's how it's supposed to end. And again, like after we like got done listening to the whole album, I'm like, dog, this is actually in the same key as the intro. We are basically doing a big old circle.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Wow,
Not
man.
done deliberately though. It wasn't done on purpose though. That's what I'm
No,
saying.
man.
It wasn't done on purpose. It
It's
the
happening.
universe and the spirit said, "Yo, this is what's supposed to happen, baby. Go ahead and
Nah,
do
we
it."
wasn't the only hands putting this together. You know what I'm saying? For a lot of hands, peace to everybody who physically touched
Yeah,
these records and helped make it what it was. But there was some other shit involved. I
yeah,
can't I
yeah,
can't help but to believe that. Like, wow, man, some of the
And
stuff
y'all
just
got
was
some really
yeah.
dope features on here. I mean, like Ad 2 has one amazing verse, like, and I mean, just like you got JB on here. I mean, it's just there's a lot
The
of,
young girl, Kumbaya.
yeah, kumbaya. Like there's so many different voices, like Serene Poems, who I interviewed on the show last
Mm.
year. Like there's so many different unique voices that lend to this, I guess, this concept and this cohesive sound that we get. And that's a special thing too, being able to find the right voices
yeah,
that play a part as features.
yeah,
So big ups to y'all, man. Y'all really did it
man.
with this project. It
Thank you,
was a
man.
pleasure chatting
Thank you,
with
bro.
y'all. Thank you so much for taking this time. I know I kept y'all for a little bit of time,
Hey, it's all
but
good.
what would you say? I mean, I know we're literally getting ready to go into November, and so we're pretty much at the end of the year. But what how do you all want to see this project roll out as we approach the last 2 months of the year, and what's next, um, that you would like to share with folks musically?
The rollout, well, I mean, truth be told, man, this is a very unique situation that we've been put in. Shouts out to my man Matt Diamond at Coal Mine, man. But
Hey,
he's we it's basically been us three. We have our little meetings. One cat might take a delegation or something. Somebody, you know what I mean. So we've been kind of just like, yo, why not just go for it and see what happens? You know what I'm saying? Like,
mhm, mhm,
and I don't think I've ever really experienced anything like this before as far as the rollout, you know.
mhm.
Mm,
Um and just the way that we've been putting the records out, like, just
yeah,
small one joint here, wait for a
right.
minute and do another one and still come out with the full length joint though, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And yeah, I mean I think it's all I ask is just that folks just listen to it in its full experience, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I can kind of give you some details about it though.
Let me.
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I was
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
say, Black, like as you spoke about the singles being rolled out earlier, it made me think, did you guys ever have any like hesitancy or concerns that rolling these singles out earlier would interfere with the cohesive album experience? Because like I said, this project does feel like it's this one complete listening experience. So it's pretty dope that y'all roll it out single by single and still is able to have this effect.
Mm,
Did
Yeah.
that ever cross your mind? Were you all
yeah.
ever hesitant about that?
Yeah, we talked about it.
In the yeah. Yeah. Go
We
ahead, bro.
we
Go
we
ahead.
we,
Go ahead.
we,
Go ahead.
we know we talked about it, and the thing about it is that so Matt Diamond is Coal Mine is the label, but he's also like a marketing like genius. You know what I mean? He's a
Hmm.
marketing guy. That's his. And I think what was dope about it when you think about streams, streams. You put a song out, you could pitch it to different playlists. Those
Right.
playlists will accumulate hella streams and get people listening, get familiar with the joint. It ends up, and so what we did is we had 4 tracks that were just landed, like blowing up playlists. You know what I'm saying? Bow, blow that playlist up. Bow, blow that playlist up. Blah. So that we knew that we had a project full of singles that were, if packaged together, still was an experience. And so we wanted to make that experience catered to not only not just the streamer listener, but those who buy vinyl. And then it's like,
Mm-hmm.
yo, the vinyl package with the shirt, the hoodie, the whole experience, the
Artwork.
stickers, the slip max, the everything. It was like, yo, experience this album. So much so that you have to pull it out the jacket and read along the lyrics and hear, you know what I'm saying? Like, appreciate all the art, because that's a part of it too. That's part of the process. It's like, yo, appreciate all this art, the animated videos, the everything that went into it. It was all from the perspective of celebrating the art, celebrating the lyrics, celebrating the words, celebrating the experience of putting vinyl on the plate, putting the needle on the groove, and sitting back and letting that mug ride, no skips. You know what I'm saying? So it was all intentional from the first single, and we had a conversation like, you think this is going to affect us? Like, nah, because streaming audiences are different than vinyl consumers
Mm-hmm.
and people who support and buy. People who are buying the vinyl, those are your fans for real. Those are people who really rocking with you,
Right,
and they're
right.
gonna get that vinyl. And when they get the vinyl, it's gonna be a whole different listening experience than when you was like digesting a single here and there. You're gonna put that mug on, and you have to listen to it from top to bottom. And we knew that was kind of gonna be the thing, you know.
That's smart. That's smart. Like knowing your audiences.
Mm-hmm.
You got your streaming
Mm-hmm.
audiences, but you got your vinyl audiences. Yeah.
Salute
Is
to
the
Yeah.
all of y'all though. Salute to all the supporters for real. Thank you, thank you,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
is the vinyl gatefold? It looked like it was gatefold as I saw you. Yeah, like it opens up. Beautiful. Oh, that's hot. That's hot. And you guys have the lyrics and the liner notes and everything in there.
Yeah. I got
Yeah,
the
show
the
them the
little.
level stuff.
Yeah, I'm about to show them the thing right now. So this is the little jacket joint, front
Nice.
side, back side, and then the lyrics is in the middle. Basically, like how Muggs was. You look at them
Yeah, I
old
see it. Yeah.
Marvin Gaye records. You know what I'm saying? And
Mm-hmm.
this is like again for me. I've never really went this far in depth with the liner notes thing.
Oh,
So it's
yeah.
actually great.
Your camera went off black. I'm not sure. Oh,
My
you back
fault.
now. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I've never really went in depth with like the lyrics and all that stuff. So the fact that we was just like, man, we just gotta kind of just go all out for it, though. You know what I mean?
Hot.
Mm-hmm.
But it definitely, man, definitely is. I would say personally one of my favorite projects to ever work on, and probably as far as the skills that was put into it, from the
Yeah.
lyrics and producing and stuff like that, I definitely got this up there for me.
That's hot. That's hot.
Right.
So, did you want to close with anything, Ozay? I'm sorry I cut you off earlier.
Oh no, man! Get excited in these conversations. I was trying not to cut you off, brother, but nah, man. I just say, thank you to everybody who's rocking with the project. Thank you, Krill, for having this on Out the Box, man. It's a blessing to be able to talk about the project in depth. Um, Man, the questions were great, and they, got us really. I think every time we get a chance to talk about the album and the process, because so much of it is in the title of what we care about is in the title of
Right.
the album. So when we get to talk about these things, it's just like it just reiterates how important this body of work is to us, and hopefully it resonates with y'all and adds value and gets multiple spins, whether it's on your turntables or on your Spotify or Apple Music or Tidal, wherever you listen to your music. But yeah, let us soak in. Let us know how you're feeling it. What songs resonate with you? What lyrics resonate with you? And I mean, that's what we do this for. We're not doing this, for the bread, all like that. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, we appreciate your bread, no doubt. But we do this because we love it. We do it for the respect. We do this so for impact. You know what I mean? So every little bit of feedback is gold for us. So appreciate y'all for listening.
Thank you, man. Thank you, man. And I just want to say, man, the artwork is amazing too. Even though it's just like animated images of you too, like the colors really stand out, and it makes for
Mm-hmm.
sure when people get that vinyl, they see it big, like it
Yeah.
stands out. So yeah, man. Where can people let the people know where they can keep connected with y'all, like your social media, your website, and so forth?
Well, for me, it's let's see, Instagram, Talk Black Eye Productions, Twitter, Talk Black Eye Productions, Facebook, Talk Black Eye Productions. The website is Tall Black Guy Productions. If you just Google Tall Black Guy, it's gonna bring you pretty much everything you need to know. And that's literally like that. Like you Google Tall Black Guy, and then it fills up like 20 pages.
That's dope because there's
You
a
know what
lot
I
of
mean?
black guys out there, right? In terms
Yeah,
of distribution.
yeah,
That's dope.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah. You're the most prominent tall black guy in the world.
Like that. Yeah.
Nah, yeah, just Ozay Moore, same. OZAYMOORE. That's across. Google that. It'll take you so you can connect with me. You'll find me. So
Mm-hmm.
Brothers, I thank y'all so much again for taking the time to chat with me. I wish y'all nothing but success. I can't wait to see what comes next for each of you, and as you collectively continue to work with each other, because I don't think this is going to be the last project between you two. It doesn't feel like that, at least.
nah.
This cat's gonna be involved in something every single time, dog. Like,
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Even
even a writing partner or something. We gonna do something.
Yeah.
word. So yeah, man.
Yeah.
So to all of our viewers and our listeners, thank y'all for tuning in. Appreciate y'all rocking with Out the Box. Remember to go to our website, outtheboxmedia.com. If you're new to the channel, you can subscribe for free so we can keep you updated and put you on our email list when we put out new shows and anything Out the Box related. Thank you to my guests. And till next show, I say peace, love, and light. Y'all stay healthy, stay focused, stay good. We out.
Peace.
Hey.